Dear colleagues, partners, and might be friends, let me share with you the impact of the upgrading model of healthcare services, personalized precision medicine, and the impact of, including the impact of genomics to be added to the daily clinical practice. Very brief history. The longevity that's registered in the globe now 122 years. The leader among the country is Japan, but most of the people do not live up to the natural limit of life. For instance, in US, more than 100,000 persons die annually because of drug adverse reactions. There are several problems to be shared. Aging. Look at the picture. This is just stable increasing of the aging populations. Prognosticable in 2025. Second factor, disease, chronification, and associated problems. Look, more than 50% of the world lives with chronic conditions and disorders. Disability and mortality. Look at this diagram. This is the contribution of the latter to the total disease burden for selected disease in Europe. And meanwhile, the able-bodied population of the planet already belongs to areas of potential risk for being diseased, accenting on human bacterial load and human malignant load. You might see that canonical healthcare is becoming increasingly unaffordable in most of the countries, yet it remains ineffective in preventing or effectively treating chronic conditions. No comments, but the resources of canonical medicine, you just recognize it, have been exhausted, and that's the fact. And thus the clinical treatment efficacy, healthy and creative aging, and the human longevity must be drastically improved and grown up soon. Meanwhile, the name of the link that might exert reliable control over disease chronification, morbidity, mortality, disabling rates, and healthy aging, as well as over the human longevity, significantly optimize the cost and efficacy of treatment for those who had fallen ill and for persons at risk is defined today as personalized precision medicine, PPM briefly. This is a new model of healthcare services. Is the unique entity demonstrating an integration of fundamental and clinical science, bioengineering and translational art, and IT armamentarium, and illustrating application of sets of the different tools at the population, community, and individuals. Look at. To achieve the implementation of PPA content and services into the daily practice, it's necessary to create a new strategy based upon subclinical and predictive recognition of biomarkers long before the illness clinically manifests itself. So PPM, as being the grand challenge to forecast, to predict, and to prevent, is rooted in a big and new science generated by the achievements of systems biology, That's the father of the systems biology, Seattle. And translational medicine to secure the connections between basic research and daily clinical practice, whilst integrating and consolidating platforms from fundamental sciences and neuromics technologies, as well as bioinformatics and artificial intelligence, and one and the upgraded new entity. NIH, whilst being a strategic center for American and international medical research and practice, has included PPM associated with translation into a list of the 5 greatest priorities of development of biomedicine and healthcare services in the century, and have the unique decision approved on setting up in US 2 academical clinical research networks, including Centers for Personalized Precision Medicine. It's just, for instance, just like an example. And Centers for Translational Medicine or Translational Research and Applications to secure US healthcare services armed with technological armamentarium of the next step generation. Just the examples. PPM is a goal of healthcare in which diagnostic and treatment decisions are informed by each person's unique clinical basics, exposomics, I mean environmental, and related information. PPM Today, 2 global objectives illustrated at this slide. To really understand PPM, we would have to understand the various fields of translational applications that provide the tools to exploit and practice PPM, and genomics tools in particular. So, genomics is considered to be a set of the unique biomarkers and thus the molecular tools to probe genome for its quality and now even be tested. In this connection, NGS technologies, it's just the illustration of the latter, hold great promise for unraveling the mysteries of biosystems with the advent of DNA sequencing method of the next step generation. In general, 2 types of biomarkers are important for PPM-related services, including genomic ones, predictive and prognostic biomarkers, to be used in most of genomic testing platforms. Genetic testing and its scope through the view of PPM. Just carrier testing, to identify people who carry 1 copy of a gene mutation that, when present in 2 copies, causes a genetic disorder. Just very briefly, sorry. Newborn testing, to identify genetic disorders that can be treated early or pre-early in life, and other disorders including monogenic and orphan, very rare diseases. Prenatal testing and IPT to detect changes in the fetus genes or chromosomes before birth to secure the national biosafety. The landscape of genetic testing has changed drastically with the emergence of DTC genetic testing. Look at, please, like type 1D patients and at-home glycemic control. To secure genetic risk prediction tools for a wide array of common diseases and thus the national health stability. And finally, among genomics technologies, pharmacogenomics related testing is aimed at tailoring. Sounds a little bit strange, but tailoring drug therapy at a dosage that's most appropriate for an individual patient, with the potential benefits of increasing the clinical efficacy and the individualized safety. This testing identifies individual differences in how well or badly people respond to particular drugs. Look at this one. It's just for being compared. Responders, roughly, and non-responders. Pharmacogenetic tests can be used to predict and to target drugs to good responders, or to identify whether an individual has an increased risk of a specific adverse drug reaction from a particular medicine. This is the best alternative, as you have seen. Non-toxic and beneficial, I mean the medicine. The latter must consider not only increased survival or quality of life, but also improved clinical decision support, CDS, and making, leading to the avoidance of unnecessary therapy or toxicity capture within the rapid learning system. It's just a multi-step procedure to result for having the clinical decision made. Genes can say a lot about an individual's predisposition to a disease, but cannot reveal what's happening in cells at the protein, for instance, genomic product level. So a combination of genomic and phenomic, might be in particular proteomic biomarkers, are becoming of great significance to be applied in PPM and need to be translated into the daily clinical practice to predict risks of the chronification and thus of disabling. Phenome sounds a little bit strange, but is considered to be a special bridge from genome and proteome and metabolome, which are two important elements of phenome. Clarification of proteomic and metabolomic variations within the phenome will benefit the realization of the real PPM-based platform. It's just the personalized phenome or individualized phenome, like at Mayo Clinic commonly used. Who will patients or persons at risk ensure their physicians trust to store and interpret the clinical data collected, harvested, and mined, and interpreted, for sure. Healthcare information technology. Look at the scope of medical information systems. Just briefly. And in particular attention, look at the cloudy technologies, which would get the major problem solved to interconnecting hospitals scattered over the world and patients. As a result, the patient or a person at risk becomes a data carrier. It's a new kind of terminology. Look, 665 terabytes. It's an average person data carrier. You might understand that bioinformatics, artificial intelligence, machine learning, and biostatistics will be crucial in translating the big data into useful applications, leading to improved diagnosis, prediction, prognostication, and for sure, treatment. An example, you have an illness, and the standard treatments, I mean the canonical daily treatments, are not working for you. What now and then be done? Modern therapeutic modes and approaches as applicable to PM. Please, very briefly. Cellular therapy is just the oldest one. The promises of gene therapy, not oldest, but rather old, including the newest approach concerning genome editing to get it more clear. Organ replacement. It's just for an example. And finally, targeted therapy. It's just the outcome. It's just an example. The outcome of systemic melanoma in 2 years after, don't keep in mind, 4 or 5 changes of systemic targeted treatment. Biobanking is just an application-based tool to secure the efficacy of the implementation of PPM into the daily clinical practice. Personalized aims and objectives exist at every stage of disease initiation and progression to develop a personalized health plan, addressing lifestyle, risk modification and management, and disease management, and later personalized health management and wellness program. In this connection, CDSS have been hailed for their potential to reduce medical errors and increase healthcare quality and efficiency. As you might see from the above mentioned, PPM has drastically changed and is keeping on changing the landscape of healthcare. Some comments. Withdrawing from the London Business School. It's one of the best business schools in the world. Individual to be under regular monitoring that helps to detect pathological shifts at subclinical stages, I mean pre-illness, have a higher life expectancy and are stable-bodied up to 8-15 years longer than those under traditional canonical treatment. The other comment, this means that the society would save more than this per person annually. Fantastic. At the community level, the annual savings from each individual may vary from several thousands to several tens of thousands US dollars. In the area of oncology, for instance, and in particular, the latter means that as little as a 10% reduction in cancer would translate into a savings of 4.4 trillion US dollars to society. Who is expected to be responsible for getting PPM model armed and rearmed? Translational applications. This is the bridge to connect two segments of the life. As an illustration of drastic changes in biopharma, biotech, and translational resources, you may see below a new landscape of the biopharma industry. Look, 42% and 73%. Consequence, in coming years, next generation biotechnologies will reorient medical practice more towards disease prediction and prevention approaches being individualized, rather than curing them at later stages of their development and progression. PPM calls for a transdisciplinary or interdisciplinary approach to support safe and effective deployment of the new enabling diagnostic therapeutic technologies, not to treat, but to get cured. This approach mentioned should be based on postulates which will change the incarnate culture and even social mentality. And upon construction of the new education platforms in the rational proportions, there would be not a primitive physician created, but a medical or biopharma ancient challenge to secure our health and wellness are rooted not in medicine and not even in science. Just imagine where. In the upgraded high-tech culture to secure the next step outcome in the therapeutic future, to secure prevention, prophylaxis, canonical treatment, and rehabilitation as the one and new entity. European Association for Personalized Medicine, Brussels, Personalized Medical Coalition, Washington, D.C., and International Society for Personalized Medicine in Tokyo. Let me invite our colleagues from all corners of the globe to form targeted international teams to moving ahead together. So thank you so much for your attention and your patience. Sorry.